Today we're going to talk about 2 things keeping you stuck in finding your health and your happiness. And those 2 things are having attachments and having aversions. I'm Lila, the founder and lead clinician of the Virtual Natural Healing Clinic, a natural healing clinic that has been designed to help make natural healing relevant, less confusing, and more accessible to people like you. Natural healing is dynamic, dramatic, and effective when used properly, and it can do so much to help you find your health and happiness, which are a birthright. So if you aren't feeling as good as you want, if you don't wake up with joy in your heart, I definitely recommend that you check us out. So today we're going to talk about 2 things, 2 sides of the same coin, really. And that is this concept of we have these attachments and we have these aversions and they're keeping us stuck. So most of us get to the point where we don't feel good. Whether we're dealing with a chronic disease, chronic symptoms, chronic pain, or think of things like anxiety, low moods, depression, like we're just not feeling good. Maybe we feel chronically fatigued. Maybe we feel just achy and like not good, whatever that not goodness is coming from. Usually, and there are always exceptions to the rules, but usually the thing that's going to make us break this cycle is to do things differently, to do things that we haven't done in ways that we have never done them. But so many of us get stuck in our patterns, in these grooves, in these habits that we've carved out over our entire lifetime, that to give things up or to try new things is scary and daunting, and we don't want to do it. I'll give you a prime example. During my first career, I lived on coffee. I probably actually since high school, I lived on coffee. You know, my order was 4 shots of espresso over ice, and I might drink that more than once a day. And there was points in my life where I would start my day with pour over, and I had a really gorgeous espresso machine set up at home, and I would pull, probably 3 shots throughout the day on top of my pour over coffee in the morning, and maybe I'd go get some decaf later in the day. Like, coffee was a need and an addiction. It's how I started my day, it's how I got through my day, and I used to say, I don't want to drink it for the caffeine, I just like the flavor. But no, I was hopped up on coffee 24/7. I was living on coffee. And as I started on my health journey to figure out why I don't feel so good, and I'm blue, and I don't have a period, and I'm overweight, and all the things that I've dealt with in my journey, I realized I got to a point in my job where I had severe adrenal burnout. I was just empty. I was a shill of a person at this point, and I had nothing left in the tank. And I knew that for me to feel better, I had to go and heal this part of myself. And in order to do that, one thing I had to do was give up coffee. And I work with a lot of people, and they come with sleep issues and chronic fatigue and chronic pain. Those are 3 really, 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 really common issues. And you bet your bottom dollar that coffee is a topic that comes up in most likely the first or second session, if not both. And the reason is that coffee is something that most people use as a crutch, and it's we love it. It tastes good. We like starting our day off. There's a ritual to it. There's so much cultural and emotional and physiological connections to coffee. And when it comes up, people get this down energy. They just go down, and they're like, no, please don't take away my coffee. I see it so often. Please don't take away my coffee. And it's funny because that's not how I operate. I'm not here to take things away. I'm here to help give you and foster things. And sometimes that does mean doing things a little bit differently. But we get so afraid of getting rid of the thing we're used to. And I myself have been there. It took so much work for me to renegotiate my relationship with coffee and to be able to skip it, to go a day, a week, a month without it. And I know personally that was not easy. I felt deprived. I felt that I had to go rework my emotional issues around coffee and what this was actually doing for me in my life. And I really actually had to confront some things before I was able and ready to give up coffee and do the healing work that I needed to do. So people come and they get this, no, don't make me give up my coffee. And it's actually not the first step I do. But what I do is I ease people into it. And I help them see that change doesn't have to be scary. So maybe we stop drinking coffee on an empty stomach in the morning and we drink coffee after breakfast. Or we're duding up our coffee with coconut cream and collagen and things to make it not hit as hard on an empty stomach. So we start by kind of just like testing the waters and helping people make little changes without completely giving it away. But it's just so interesting to see what an attachment there is to doing things like this. Now, the other thing I see a lot is people have sleep issues. And one of the things that we focus on when there are sleep issues is good sleep hygiene. You know, like what environment are you going to sleep in? And part of a good sleep environment is darkness. And it's actually kind of hard to make a pitch black room, especially if you sleep with a partner and you don't want to go rearrange a bunch of things and you like the window open. And so one thing that I have people do is get a sleep mask. And people have such an aversion to the sleep masks at first. They end up loving them in the end. And I went through the same exact thing. I had this aversion to trying something because I already decided I didn't want to do a sleep mask. They're goofy. They're for rich people. They're gonna feel uncomfortable in my face, like all the things. And so it takes this like getting rid of this aversion, getting over this hump, and being open and willing to trying something new. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to heal, if you're trying to find happiness, if you're trying to change in any big grand way, you have to be open. Like if you are not open and you're not willing to do things differently than you've always done them, then you are going to be where you are. You're going to be in the same exact spot that you are in. Let me talk about one more facet of the attachment and the aversion things. I think attachments to things, the things that we're not willing to give up, especially for the things that we want, are really bad. They prevent us from moving forward and growing and learning on our path. Also having an aversion to things is equally as bad. I can tell you as part of my journey, there was a big weight loss journey and part of my health journey. And I started to get an aversion to foods that didn't fit this very narrow paradigm I created. And it led to dangerous eating disorders. I was bulimic for a couple years where I vomited up probably 50 to 60% of my meals. I had major food fears. I would have like mental breakdowns when it came to going hungry or eating something that fell outside of this paradigm that I've created. And I just had these like extreme aversions to these things that started putting me and my body in a really stressed and really unhealthy state, to the point where I was trying to avoid something for my health, but I created an even bigger issue in my health by not allowing and being okay with some things in moderation and giving myself grace and going with the flow. Like I was fighting an uphill battle, and these aversions were actually feeding a really toxic part of myself that wasn't helping me feel better. It was actually helping me feel very, very worse. And the thing with health is it's dynamic. And we're dynamic, and our needs are dynamic. And so if we start getting into these very narrow lanes of I need this, I don't need this, we're screwed, because our needs and our health are constantly changing, and we have to be fluid, and we have to be able to work with these ebbs and flows. A perfect example is moving and eating with the seasons. Another perfect example is different stages of life. We're going to need different things. I mean, think about how you eat when you're pregnant versus when you're not pregnant. Or another example is when people have really bad blood sugar dysregulation. People aren't sleeping through the night because their blood sugar is just going haywire. Sometimes I have them break the rule and eat something right before bed. And that is a great thing to do to help them get to sleep. But when they're done with that phase and they're healed and their blood sugar is back into balance, we're going to go back to not eating before bedtime. And it's individualized, focused on where the person's at. But if they get really attached to doing something this way or really adverse to doing something that way, then they're going to be stuck and they're going to stay exactly where they are. Now, part of this process is not pushing people farther than they're able to go, and to really meet them where they are and help enact little changes, like I did with the coffee. Like, we don't start by taking away people's coffee. Depending on the situation, we can ease ourselves into it. We can do it a little differently. It doesn't have to be so black and white. And I think that when we get really attached to good and bad, and I like this and I don't like this, and there's yes and no, like, we are just bypassing nuance and bypassing individuality, and it doesn't work like that. So what I want you to do is a little exercise, and I want you to just go through your day and realize, like, the things you feel really attached to and the things you feel really averse to. I'll give you another personal example. I'm really attached to having a morning beverage when I wake up. It's not necessarily coffee, but I like to start my day with a beverage that's not water. I mean, I drink water first, but then, like, I look forward to my matcha or my tea or my coffee or whatever it is I'm drinking that day. That is really important to me, and I'm attached to it. And that's something that I have to continually focus on and try to recognize, is this owning me or am I owning this? And one thing that I've become extremely averse to, possibly to a fault because I can get judgmental, is alcohol. I quit alcohol years ago. I consider myself voluntarily sober, and I've created in myself an aversion to alcohol to the point where I now judge people who do it. I don't want to be around it. I've stopped seeing any value in it, and it's not that black and white. Really, I could make arguments in either direction, and while at the end of the day I don't think alcohol is good, my aversion to it might be too far the other way, where I can't just have grace and let it exist. And maybe that's a challenged example, because I think alcohol is a loaded topic, but when we create a fear around something, we have a problem, no matter what that something is. Because there's good in all the bad and bad in all the good, and things are nuanced in anything. And I mean, any substance on this planet Earth right now, from mercury and arsenic to alcohol and kale and broccoli, can be medicine in the right context, for the right person, at the right time. So this concept of this is always good or this is always bad isn't helpful, because there's so much more nuance to the story than that. And when we have these attachments or these aversions, we're living in those lanes, and we have this very narrow view of what's possible. So if we can get rid of those, if we can kind of tear down that wall, we really open up and expand to a new world of possibility and healing, and it's pretty darn cool, So you are going to assess what some of your attachments might be, and some of your aversions as well. What are things that you get a visceral, that's bad? And it doesn't have to be food related. It can be anything. And see if you can, for one or two things that you feel real aversion to, see if you can make an argument in their favor. See if you can really sit and make an argument for why that might be okay in some context. Just do it as a thought exercise. Do it to expand your thinking and your views of things, and to help you feel more comfortable making change and doing things differently, and just kind of tearing down the construct that you've created that might be keeping you stuck in finding your health or finding your happiness. I'm Lila, founder of the Virtual Natural Healing Clinic, and I will leave links below if you're interested in any of the work we're doing. And I always invite you to subscribe, to comment, to reach out if there's anything that you would like covered, any topics that would be relevant or pertinent to your health and your health journey. And we'll see you next time.